Hey guys, welcome back. We're in the shop. We're going to put this Lock-Right in this Dana 41 rear axle on that CJ2A axle build I'm doing. Before we get into that, I'm going to cover a few things. First thing is these lock straps, and the bolt quality back then wasn't the greatest. I'm going to try and find you one. Can you see that, Gary?
Yes.
Okay, that's the bolt. There's no trick photography here or anything. Nothing's been loosened or anything. That bolt. That one's loose. That one's loose. I hope you guys can see them moving. This is what 95% of all the early axles are like. The military Jeeps were the worst. For some reason they had horrible bolts when they put the MBs and GPWs together. And I've opened up a lot of them with the bolt heads in the case. Ring and pinion wiped out. CJ2A wasn't real good. Bolt quality wasn't where it should have been. And these lock straps, I know a lot of guys put these in and they feel real good about them, but they're super soft. You got to think to yourself, if they're soft enough for you to bend the tab up to hold the bolt, when you put your torque on that bolt, eventually it's going to, the softness is going to kind of squeeze out of it basically, and your bolt is going to lose all its torque. And there are thousands and thousands of these out there, and guys don't know why they're getting rear end clunking. They don't know what's happening until a bolt head finally breaks off and gets in the mix. So I'm going to talk quite a bit about the bolts and let you know what's happening with those.
Well, those restraining straps, Brian, that's from the factory, or is that?
That's from the factory, and too many guys, look, that piece just broke off. Too many guys believe that they need these in there, and every time you put these in, I will never put these back in, but every time you put these back in, no matter how many times you torque the bolt, you torque it, leave it overnight, torque it again, you're going to lose your torque, and the bolts are going to loosen up, just like this one, and they're ready to come out. And I'll take this one out so I can show you some more things about the bolts.
So what's the alternative, Loctite?
We got to cover a lot of ground on the bolts.
Okay.
That's what the, can you see the casting okay?
Yeah.
That's a rough casting. So if we were to put the bolt just on the casting, it would be better than putting it on the lock strap. But this bolt is poor quality, and the size of it, this is a 3/8 24 thread, the size of it and the length of it is nothing that's available today. The closest you can get this is a new Spicer ring gear bolt, and it'll fit the front end, the 25 and stuff, but they don't make one long enough to fit in the 41. So these have little teeth under there, but they're not, a little bit of red Loctite, and if that was the right length and you put that in, you could kind of torque it and it would be better than using a lock strap, but then there's nothing to hold it in there. If something went wrong, this could fall back right out and fall right into ring and pinion. So let me grab another bolt. This is an airframe bolt. It goes by the AN designation, and these are super strong. And you can exchange this out one for one. But again, we don't have a good bearing surface, and nothing to keep that from coming out. So the way I do it, and I'll show you this more when I put it together and put the ring gear back on. This is another AN bolt, and I think you can see it's drilled through safety wire. It has a nice shoulder on it. It has a good, the grip length they call that, and the thread length stays the same on these. That'll go in there. You can see the head is a little bit smaller, but I'm going to put a hardened washer under that. This has a real true bearing surface on this bolt, unlike a lot of regular, what you think grade 8 bolts are nice, but These are about 40% stronger than a grade 8 bolt, and these will bend and stretch before they break. They're not anywhere near as brittle as a grade 8 bolt. So there'll be a hardened washer, there'll be the bolt, and then everything will get safety wired. We'll have real bearing surface, and we won't ever have to worry about these bolts loosening up. And this is common in every single early MB, GPW, CJ2A. This is common. Every single axle I open up is like this. The bolts got a little bit better by the CJ5, but still not good enough for, I don't want these things on the road. When I take them apart, if I have the axle apart, I take it out, I remove the lock straps, I put the right bolts in, and I safety wire them. It's the only way to be sure you're not going to grind up all your gears eventually. Okay guys, I got all the tabs bent down, and there's one here, one here. This is 3 of them so far that are just finger tight. Again, didn't loosen anything up. No, not trying to scare anybody, not trying to do any trick photography here. If you're putting an axle together and you see these in your axle, absolutely throw them out. They will come to bite you. That's just not what you want. Couldn't get that with my fingers, but put a socket on it. Look how tight that was. There's another one. Haven't taken a wrench to any of these bolts yet. Now, a modern ring and pinion carrier here and stuff, ring and pinion setup, you got the carrier. There'll be a machined area right there, right where every bolt is. Everything will be machined, and you'll get real high quality bolts. Back in the 40s, the bolts weren't real good. Okay, now we're putting a lock right in today, so let me show you what we. Okay, not a single bolt did I need a wrench on. Every single one came out just with hand pressure. Now, before I take the last one out and knock this off, I want the ring gear to go on the carrier the same way. I think it's critical. A lot of guys just throw it on the bench and put it on any which way. We're going to mark it, put it on the same way, and should be stuck pretty good. We can take these bolts out. And there is a real good test for this bolt to see if it's any good. You take your bolts one at a time, or the whole bunch of them, go over to your favorite pond, stream, ocean, whatever. Throw these in the ocean or the stream, and if they float, you keep them. If they sink, they're no good. So you figure it out. If you got one of these guys that will float, absolutely jump in there, swim in there after it. If it sinks, it's junk. These are all headed for the scrap pile. That's what I'm telling you. Same with these. Throw them in the ocean and see if they float. They're not gonna. It's all junk, just garbage. Don't use it again. Don't make your axle build have any more trouble than it already probably has. Throw that stuff out. When I put this back together, I will show you the process for putting new bolts in there.
Go ahead.
Okay, the ring gear is off. If that doesn't just drop off there, just give it a tap with a hammer. That'll come off. And we're not just taking the ring gear off just for the fun of it. You can't get your pin out with the ring gear, in the way. It sticks out too far. On some installations with different gears, this pin you could do it right in the vehicle. That pin will slide right out past the ring gear. You don't have to take it off. But in this case, we have to take it off. So there's your pin, your shaft, and there's a pin locking through there. So we're going to knock that out with a punch. We're just going to go down through there, see if we can knock that pin right out. Okay, it's coming. I just need a little bit longer punch. So let me get that pin out and then I'll show you how everything comes apart. Okay, next thing we do is we're going to press our pin out. It should come out fairly easy. Might have to tap a little bit. It's kind of chasing me around the bench here. Okay, the pin's going to come out like that. Now your spider gears are all freed up. You can spin it whichever way you like. Get these little guys out the side. Make sure you get your washer with it. You're not going to need these. So there's the washer and the side gear. This guy is critical. This is what each axle is going to run up against when that's sitting in there. A lot of guys throw these out. They don't think they need them. And then they call me up and they wonder why their axles are shucking in and out. Don't throw the center block out. That needs to go back in even with the Lockrite. And do not throw your factory thrust washer away. We're going to put these in and we're going to check some clearances. If these bring us in our proper clearance, we're going to use them again. If not, we'll get some new ones and recheck the clearance. Do not throw your thrust washer out. Okay, there is the bare carrier, and we're going to start with the Lockrite next. Okay guys, here's the Lockrite laid out on the bench. And for this 41, we are using Lockrite part number 2415. I get a lot of questions about that. This is the Dana 44 number, but it is the proper one to use in the 41 as well. Don't get screwed up on that and think there's nothing available. The 2415 fits right in the 41, even though they don't list it as that. So, just want to give you guys a heads up on that. Okay, here's all our pieces you're going to get in the Lockrite. Your springs, your pins, your couplers, your drivers, everything. They give you a new shaft in the kit. This is our original pin, our original axle block, and our original thrust washers are in good shape. If these are in bad shape and one's not as thick as the other or one's galled up or something, don't use them. Just get new ones, but ours are in very good shape. So we're going to take a little bit of our assembly lube. And you've seen me use this stuff on transmissions and transfer cases and anywhere you got to stick something. So that'll stay on there. That won't fall off now. Okay, next thing we're going to do, you see that window, Gary?
See it.
Okay, in that window, we're just going to take a little bit of this blue stuff. We're going to take one of our pins, and we're going to stick it in that window, and we don't want that to get away from us. So we'll just put a little bit of glue on there. So you'll have two on that one, and then you'll have two on this one. So we'll stick the pins in there and get those ready for the next step. Okay, I'm going to clean my hands and I'll be right back with you. Okay, our thrust washer is on there. We'll lay that in the case. That guy's going to go up there with the thrust washer. put your spacer with the wide end going towards your gear there, just like that. I'm moving around on you, Gary. Hang in there with me. Trying to get it so you guys can see it. This is going to go in the bottom here. Oh, no, hang on. I did that backwards. Got to put the bottom one in first. And then this one go in the top. Don't worry about this guy. You can drop that in here later. Right now we're going to get everything lined up. And you can see we're coming around there with the hole. We're going to get everything lined up and put the pin through next. Okay, so the pin's going to go through everything at once. There's no trick to that. You just got to fiddle around with it, get the pin through, and then we'll come back and we'll put our springs in. Okay, guys, I got everything kind of lined up. I got the shaft started. This guy has to go in next. The shaft is almost through, and it's going to go through this next. I just grab it with a magnet, like this, and I drop it down through. And I just kind of feel my way. Okay, that's in now. And when you get close to your pinhole, make sure you're lined up nice and square. And you can see the holes that are going to line up. And then just tap that through lightly and be looking for the hole. That looks good right there. And now we can drive our pin in. Drive it from this side. Got a little booger there. Hang on. We'll come back through this side. Okay. Now everything's in place like we need it. Alright guys, just want to show you this. With the pin in there, I've got the pin out. But the shaft that came with the kit does not allow your ring gear to go on there. It sticks out too much. And I've put a lot of Lockrights in. I've never had this happen before, so I don't know what's happening with the pin. If they changed the design and they made it a little bit longer for the Dana 44 case, I don't know. But I've put them into 41 with no trouble before. But this is going to need to be trimmed. So this is coming back out again, and I'm going to stick that in the lathe. I think take a little bit off there, and while it's out, we'll put the springs in here and everything. I'll show you how I do that. But just be aware, if you're putting one of these in your 41, the shaft may be a little bit too long. So I'm going to do what I can to make that right, so the ring gear goes on. And I'll be back with you just in a second and show you how I do it. Okay guys, here's the shaft I took out. And the shaft that came with the kit. You see it's way too long. I wasn't expecting that, but no trouble. We'll just make it a little bit shorter. Again, like I say, I've put a ton of these in and I've never had that happen. So we're just going to go after it and get it figured out, make it a little bit shorter. And while the shaft's out, you could put the springs in if you got the shaft in or out, but I might be able to show it to you a little bit better when I could turn it like this. Like I say, there's enough room to move the pin and put the springs in. But I'll turn it like this and show you. But the first thing I'm going to do is turn that shaft down. Okay guys, there's the shaft shortened up. I thought I was going to take a cut on the lathe, but it is super hard material. So I took it over to the disc sander and very lightly just nibbled away the end there. I didn't make it get too hot or anything. I kept the temperature cool. And that's ready to go in. So like I said, I'm going to show you how to set these springs. Can you see in there, Gary?
Yep.
Okay, we're going to push the pin through. Little spring goes inside the big spring. I know it's probably tough to see, but you just got to work those in there. Oops. Trying to get some good shots for you guys. Hang in there with me. Yeah, everything's moving around. I mean, I might have to put that pin through it. Everything's moving around too much. I'll be right back with you.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think we can get this. You can see what happens. One spring's inside another spring here. Try and keep my big hands out of the way. And just send that right down in there. Push it in, and you'll feel it seat in there, and you know it can't bounce out or anything. So take your time so your springs don't jump all around on you, and they should go in there okay for you.
Okay.
Okay guys, the Lockrite is in. You can see all the springs. And then get a pointer here. You can see the springs and the pin. You got a spring down there and a pin, and the same thing all around here, the 4 spots. We've got our axle spacer in there. Don't leave that out. And we're just about to put the ring gear down in the same place we took it off. You could see that our ring gear now slides by the shortened shaft. I've never had one like that, and I've put a lot of them in Dana 44s. I've never had a shaft that long that stuck out that much. I don't know what the situation is. Maybe I'll get a hold of Lockrite and see what they say. But like I say, it was too hard to cut in a lathe, so I ground it. And everything is in there. This is going to get, like I say, I'm going to bolt this together. I'm waiting on a different size hardened washer that I want to use for this. You know, on this side, on this underside here. So I will show you the safety wiring and how I bolt this together in the next video. And it was kind of a pain with the shaft on this Lockrite install, but it's in there. You know, you just got to fuss with the springs a little bit and make sure everything's right. But it went together pretty good. In the next video, I will finish this up and I'll show the installation into the actual case. We'll check the tooth pattern and the backlash, and we'll take it from there and see what happens. So thanks for watching, and if you have any questions about this, if it wasn't clear on anything, just let me know, and I'll try and help you out. Just send a comment and let me know. Okay, see you on the next one.